Hello Facebook community, and happy weekend to you all. So today I wanted to share a little bit of my story. So this is something some of you all have heard about and I have posted about in a few places, but today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about my experience as a teenager. So some things that I faced as a teenager are a lack of sleep deprivation. In high school I probably slept about 3 to 4 hours a night. And the reasons for that is that I was super obsessed with school. I stayed up late working on every single assignment that I was ever assigned, reading every single page ever assigned, and doing this to the point of complete exhaustion so that I wasn't actually understanding what I was reading. I wasn't really gaining value from it, but something about reading each page was like a sense of validation or completeness for me. So even though I wasn't actually learning, there was like this checklist and this kind of drive for me to just get a thing done and check it off. And so I was super obsessed with my homework. I was super obsessed with my grades. So while I wasn't always getting the best quality of studying, I was still performing pretty well. And I would also say that another part of why I was so sleep deprived is that I was also staying up late at night, often talking or texting with boys at this time, especially starting by my sophomore year. This was something that was pretty all-consuming for me. So I was sleep deprived, I was stressed out and overwhelmed by school, and what I can really say is that I was spending all of my time working to please others and to meet standards that others had determined for me. You know, whether or not people told me to perform in a certain way, I was achieving for that. I was working hard to get the grades that I thought would make me acceptable, to be in the clubs, to play sports, to be active on my campus, and kind of doing all of these behaviors for this external validation. And so what happened is, I was actually achieving well, as I said. On paper I looked great. I played basketball, I played soccer, I was on honor roll, I participated in campus clubs, and honestly, I had some great teachers that were truly supportive. I had a family that supported me and cared. They were very active, they supported me at sports, they supported me at school. So I had support surrounding me. I was living a pretty good life, so to speak. But the truth is, I was really putting on a mask, right? I was living not for myself. I didn't know myself. I wasn't trying to get to know myself, and I was performing for all of these outside sources, for the grades, for my parents, for some sense of achievement, for acceptance, really. And so what started to happen is, after I was really into this pattern of looking outside of myself, I became involved in a pretty emotionally abusive relationship. And this isn't a relationship that, unfortunately, I was in for about 4 years. So it was a long-term relationship. I was experiencing a great deal of depression and anxiety in this relationship, yet it was something that I was still not able to separate myself from. It was still a place where I was looking for validation and for acceptance, and putting the acceptance, or that seeking acceptance from the other person, above loving myself or accepting myself. So these are some pretty dark and scary parts of my identity, parts of my identity formation that went pretty awry. As I was a 15 through 18-year-old, I was experiencing a lot of loss of self. I did not see my self-worth for myself. And so I share this because I have heard from a lot of parents who are very concerned. They are concerned about their child and their struggle with confidence, their struggle to see worth in themselves, their struggle to love and accept themselves. And so I've heard parents mention that this comes out in negative self-talk. So actually hearing their child say degrading or kind of self-hatred type comments, right? So saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm ugly, and saying these things starting at a very young age. And so I have heard this concern over and over again about this struggle for self-acceptance, this struggle for self-love, and it resonates with me. That was my story, right? I was looking outside of myself rather than within myself, and I didn't really think very highly of myself, despite all of those achievements that I had mentioned. So I do know that many parents, they want their child to know that they're enough just as they are. They're conveying this, but there's still some missing pieces. There's still something kind of stuck. The child is still stuck in the patterning. And so if you are a teen, if you're the parent of a teen or a tween, I know that my story might be hitting you in the heart right now. I know that you might have some idea that your child is wearing a mask or multiple masks depending on the realms they exist in, right? And they could wear different masks at home or at school, at church, at the home of another parent, right? We can all wear multiple masks. And so I know that you might be sensing that your child is wearing a mask and it's worrisome, or you might not yet sense it, but you might be noticing that there's ways that your child is isolating themselves or kind of withdrawing, maybe disconnecting from you or from the family. And so the story could be challenging for you to hear. And it can be a worrisome place to be when you're afraid of what's going on with your teen or your tween. But this doesn't have to be the place that you stay, right? There's always a place to grow from here. So facing the reality that our teens are up against a lot right now, a lot of pressures, social media, their social life in general, academics, state testing, expectations from parents to achieve, that's real too. We want the best for our children. Expectations from from friends and teachers, and even just from the general culture to be a certain way, to look a certain way. So our teens are facing a lot, and it's important that we accept this right now, and that we can actually start to accept what are the challenges. We can start to accept the challenges that our children that we interact with, our teens in our lives, we can accept their true needs. So we need to make space for truly listening to them, truly hearing them. And this requires intentional time. So in order to fully accept your child's needs and to step up, you have to make the intentional time that's required in order to get your teen the support they need, to give them the support that they need. In time, of course, everything changes. It has the potential to change for the worse, but it has the potential to change for the better and for the growth to be truly positive, truly transformational. And so that's what I believe that you all want for yourselves, for your family, and for your teens. That you want to take the intentional time to grow the changes that you need the most and to live a life with more ease and more connection, right? That's what I hear all the time. So it should be said, of course, that there is a degree of challenge and struggle that's normal and even healthy, right? It's very productive. I'm sure we can all think of times that we have been challenged and we've come out on the other side and felt like a bigger or stronger person, and it's beautiful. But there is some degree of challenge and struggle that is not healthy and that we can prevent. So it's important that we acknowledge that challenge and problem and struggle is normal. I'm not trying to say it's not. I'm not trying to say we're not going to live with it, or we should intend or wish to live without it. But we have to think about the way that we're programmed. And for me, I became programmed as a person of anxiety and stress, and I was out of touch with my true needs, my true feelings, even the sensations in my body. I was super out of touch with them. And so the goal is that we would be more in touch, and so in touch that when we experience challenge, we can name that and understand it so that eventually we learn from it, rather than just existing in the cycle of anxiety and not knowing how to escape it. And so I guess I also want to say that for years I truly lived on this kind of autopilot. I believed that stress is what helped me get things done. And it was not until just the past couple of years that I've been able to notice my patterns in anxiety, and I've been able to change them. And so I want you and I want your teens to be able to catch their patterning early on, to create the lives of connection and ease and family joy so much earlier than in my experience. So that's the goal. It's not to eliminate our challenge and our struggle completely, but to have a healthy amount and to create the programming that's most productive for us. So I'd love to hear what you all think of this topic. Please comment below. Let me know if you relate. Let me know what questions you have. Just let me know what you think about this topic, and I look forward to talking with you all more about it. Have a great weekend.